It's like a giant playground full of crazy people that have no restrictions whatsoever. Like if you used to be on a playground with like a little kid, right? And like you took your toy and you pushed the kid, and the kid started to cry, and you were like, you know what? You're this, and the kid was crying. Like you would see the kid cry, and then you would feel like you would process that and have a reaction to it and go, oh, you know what? I feel bad. I'm sorry. Like we don't ever have that. There's not. You're feeling an emotion at a certain point in time, and you go, that's how I feel, and it's out there, and it's gone, and then 10 minutes later, you're done with that emotion. You're not angry anymore. You felt that, but that thing lives on forever. And then on the other side, somebody can't even process that you've already moved on to 50,000 other emotions anyway. So it's like you can't quite take things almost literal, you know, at any point in time.
No.
We'll go with you, right?
For I, Tanya, it was a brilliant movie. Everybody was great, and I wanted to know, how was it playing Jeff? How was it like taking on that kind of role?
I mean, again, it was a great learning lesson for me in a lot of ways. I mean, I think it was very difficult for numerous reasons. You know, I mean, you have to understand. I gotta see that Joker movie. I mean, like, you have to understand why people are doing why they're doing what they're doing, you know, and it's very different. A lot of that movie, even though there was a lot of comedy in it, had very serious issues involved, and it's funny because sometimes you feel, or at least like, you know, I mean, it made me feel more conscious of, I guess, how we relate, period. You know, I mean, those guys were extreme. That relationship was an extreme example. You know, they both had very specific backgrounds that they came from, and then, you know, they somehow like still drew each other, right? So it's like then you ask yourself, like, well, why am I attracting these kinds of people in my life? You know, why am I attracted to this kind of person? You know, who's actually hurting me? You know, and why do I keep going back to that person? You know, over and over again. And where does that come from? You know, and then you peel back the layers and you realize, well, that's the kind of thing that you've always thought felt good, actually, when you were little and you didn't really have, you know, develop all these things. And so, anyway, but it was, I guess it was hard.
It was great.
But,
Thank you. Something for you?
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Sebastian. How are you?
good.
That was my question.
What?
Oh, you said something, I didn't hear it.
No, I just said I'm
So my question is, it's kind of hard to word because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a lot, but so I'm a nursing school student, and recently I did a project on mental health. And that's something that's super important to me because I was in the military. I suffered from PTSD kind of on my way out. So it's something that now outside of the military I really advocate for. And I think that what people like so much about the roles that you do, or what they can relate to, especially Bucky, for example, is that characters like that you portray really give them hope, and then meeting you as a person, you're just so sweet and kind that I just, I mean, you seem like it, at least. My question to you is that, what would you give, what advice would you give to people who are silently suffering, that can't, that don't know how to open up, that they need to hear something, maybe from you or maybe from
When you
another
say silently suffering, like, is it like you feel like you can't talk to anybody about it? Is it like a sense of you know, shame about the things you feel? Is it like a sense of, is it all just like, I can't really label what's happening with me right now, I'm having this experience, like, what does that mean?
Well, it's different for everyone, because for me, whenever I was talking about it, for me it was PTSD, it was generalized anxiety disorder, it was stuff like that. But when I opened up to my peers, it turns out, well, we had another student who suffers from generalized anxiety, and then another 2 students who are mothers and suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, from postpartum disorder. But just like for people who are on Tumblr or people who are on social media who really look forward to seeing your positive messages, and just from not just you, but from the people that they admire so much, if you can give like a really positive, uplifting message that would get back to them. Like, what would you say for people, like, for instance, with suicidal ideation or something like that? I'm sorry, that's really serious.
No, that's just, no, but it's real, you know, and there's nothing, like, we can't apologize for that, you know what I mean? It's just, I hear you, and I mean, the first thing that comes to my head, like, when I'm listening to you, you know, again, it just, you know, take it or leave it, like, I'm just trying to find my way too, right? So I don't have the answer, but what I can relate to what you said is definitely that kind of sense of, you know, shame about, like, certain things you're feeling, you know, like, and I mean, I think I can relate to that, anybody can relate to that, like, you know, you feel, like, even anxiety, by the way, sometimes, like, what breeds more anxiety is, like, you being out in public and thinking you're feeling anxious and something's gonna happen, and then you're gonna have, like, this breakdown, and everyone's gonna see it, and you're gonna be, like, the crazy person and the outcast, and, like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. You know what I mean? And then that makes it, escalates it even more and more and more. And, but I don't know, I feel like we have to be able to, you have to communicate, you have to try to communicate in some way. I think it's, you know, when you're trying to take on something on your own that's a little bit beyond you, it's just, you know, it's gonna, I think it's really, really difficult. I don't know. I mean, I just know that when I'm feeling off, I try to call a friend. I call somebody that I know, you know, in some way that's gonna remind me outside of my head of whatever's going on. And there's plenty of times where you know, you have to build that awareness where sort of like, you're going like, oh, this is happening to me, but it isn't really me. You know what I mean? Like, this is an experience I'm having right now. Like, it's really just like that, as opposed to, but trauma is so difficult and takes years, and, you know, you have to just kind of, I think, reach out for help when you're thinking it, when you're feeling it. I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful at all. I mean, I gotta keep thinking about that.
Hi, Sebastian. I got a lighter question for you. So, what's your typical Starbucks order, and what do you think Bucky's Starbucks order is?
Starbucks is like it's like an old friend, you know. I just go. I mean, now they've gotten really crazy with the cold brews and stuff, you know. I just go for regular coffee with like some almond milk. And yeah, that's kind of what. You're trying to ask me what Bucky would order is? You know, somehow I take would be like 4 shots of espresso. Yeah. It's interesting because some of those things are still going to be dealt with, by the way, with that character when we're talking in this next phase. You know, so I wonder how that's going to land.
We look forward to seeing that.
All right, back to the table. We'll go right there.
I don't want to solve a wound or anything, but is there any movement improvement or progress with Beacon Reaper or the kind of?
Oh, boy, I mean, you know, it's so hard. Thank you for remembering that. Is it because did you read that book? Okay, all right. So you saw like what kind of project it
Well, I didn't
was.
like where it was going at first because I thought, oh no, this is too much of Bucky, and then but that's really great.
Yeah, it's twisted. It's different. Yeah, it's tough. I've been trying to find like the right kind of director for it, but it's one of those things where you know, it's out of my hands. It's at a studio and they have to decide whether or not they want to make it. You know, and the thing was when we got very close to it, it's just the budget got too high and. But it's one of those things now where you kind of like, that's a movie where you don't know if, is it easier just to make it like a Netflix or an HBO, you know, is it easier to just stream it? Is it easier than to just, you know, I think unfortunately that's one of those projects that kind of like will have, hopefully I won't get too old to not be able to do it, you know, but I think we're gonna have to wait and see how things filter now with these other streaming networks coming in and stuff, because they might shake everything up.
Hi, good morning. I have two boys in teenage, and they are thinking about their careers, lifetime career. And is there any good advice you were given when you were in teenage? It helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like just like you know, struggle helps. I mean, that's just, you know, struggles, yeah, help. Like being, you know, in a way they force you to like step up. You know, I think it's like honestly a proven fact that there's brain synapses in your mind that get like recreated. You can create the like chemistry almost like in your mind. I've read before, and I know I'm butchering it in terms of what you can do if you are able to sort of like face those struggles and then kind of come from it. But you know, so I feel like if you see them dealing with, you know, it's like when I think of when I would want to have kids, I feel like, you know, I would want to be there for them and make them feel safe and know that they have someone to turn to, but at the same time, I have to try and encourage them to be able to go out there and face it on their own and be able to you know, come around the corner on their own, because that's a real important life lesson. You know, if we just rely on other people, you know, then we may not know how to do that later in our own lives.
Thank you very much.
This question is great. The answer is no.
So they're gonna be releasing the Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus soon. How different was that from working, I guess, in the movie world versus that one?
I don't know, because I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay.
Starting tomorrow, but I don't know. Yeah.
You excited for that?
I am very excited about it. Yeah. No, I am. I have no idea, like honestly, what to. I think it's going to be really great. I'm very excited about it. I'll let you know in a year.
I'll ask the same question next year.
Alright, thanks. Is this table anybody?
So going back to Beat the Reaper, I thought it was, because when I read it, I was actually sitting in a doctor's office waiting for my dad to have a procedure. And it was, so I'm reading this and I'm like, and it's funny because I'm like, oh, this is the inside stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the medical field. But this doctor in particular was not seeing patients till after 7 p.m.
Do not want to get sick in Newark.
Yeah. So, I grew up in a medical family, so I knew some of the weird stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And when I read the book, I was like, oh my God, this would totally freak people out if they knew this is kind of going on in hospitals.
Well, it's funny because the director really said, he was like, I want people, once they see this movie, to be really scared of hospitals. Oh, you're gonna do it. You're gonna figure it out. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, look, I don't, actually, if you look up the author, you will see that he has spent a lot of time with doctors and in, medical practice and so on. So yes, whether that's, that's fictionalized, I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
We'll go right there.
So I was fortunate enough to see a advanced screening of Last Full Measure. And you did a really. They've been going around these different military bases screening the movie. So it comes out in January, so you guys can see it. He did a really good job. You did a really good job. And it's about time that you got top billing, so.
No,
Take the compliment. Take the compliment. So I just wanted to know how you prepared for that role and what you remember from that, since it's been a couple years.
Oh man, I mean, that was great because it was like some of the greatest actors that I ever, actually it's the most work I had with Sam Jackson, by the way. We didn't really get a lot of interaction in the Marvel world, but, and he's very different in it, and then William Hurt and Ed Harris and all these people. I mean, it's just, I felt like I could be a student there, and that was kind of what the character was experiencing. He was sort of going down this rabbit hole of, kind of meeting these people, learning about this world, and sort of finding himself kind of changing his own ideology and beliefs about his own life. And so there was a little bit of that happening for me, and it was just kind of interesting to kind of listen to these guys who've been around for years talk about their experience going through Hollywood and, what they've learned and their failures and regrets and things. But I think the reason that movie's important is because it deals very much with, PTSD. It deals with these experiences that sort of happen and then they haunt you forever. And again, it goes back to that thing, like these guys in this movie, for example, spent their whole lives trying to get this guy to mow the lawn. That's all they did, right? This one event that could have killed them and killed it killed a lot of them, but it could have killed them psychologically, right? Like those things that you talk about could have, overpowered them, right? But like somehow they were able to turn that and use it for themselves towards something better and good, and that's what the movie deals with essentially. It's like this William S. Pittsburgh, this guy this airman saved all these people. He didn't have to be there, and he was going to die there, and he knew that. And then he went and saved all these guys, and then these guys had survivor's guilt and had to deal with all these feelings afterwards of being like, it's so crazy. Like it's like you want to survive, right? But then you want to feel like, why didn't you let me fucking die? And then there's all these complex emotions, and I just know that the actual guys who William Hurt, Sam Jackson, and so on, who play them, saw the movie, they loved it, and were crying and having all these experiences throughout it. And I mean, that's why you do that movie. You do it so that they're represented, you do it so that they feel that they're heard, and so I feel like I'm grateful to have been a part of that. But I gotta give credit to Todd Robinson, the director, because he was relentless with these people, I mean, he spent years with them, interviewing them, asking them questions, so I'm glad the movie's coming out finally.
We only have time for like 2 more questions before we start something, so we'll start. Go for it. Yeah.
One of the things that you said that you do like about social media is that you get to sort of bring awareness to different causes. Are there any causes that are maybe really close to your heart that you hope to bring awareness to, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me now, it's much more, you know, like we're doing this thing next Sunday in New York. For me, it's been much more like focusing how to get more specific with these two particular ones, which I've gotten closer to, like, you know, the Ronald McDonald's house in New York, and then, you know, our big day out, which is in Romania, and so on. And I just wanted to get more specific with them, you know, because what I wouldn't want to do is just sort of feel like I'm like lightly touching different things and not really actually contributing anything, you know. So I'm focusing on that for now, and it's interesting. I mean, like you know, I'm probably in a place of relearning how to honestly use social media, you know, because as I said, like it started out to be very simple for me. I still treat it the same way. I'm just a guy, you know. I'm just a guy out there trying to do the best I can, you know. But maybe I'm not just that anymore. Maybe I'm also like somebody who, you know, you guys want to hear things I have to say. Like maybe I have to be conscious of that. Maybe I have to be able to step up in other ways, you know. And so that's what it's about now for me. But yeah, I hope to have more specific for you. So we see you.
Okay, so I have a weird question. I read somewhere.
You've already gone.
Okay, it's not that weird. I read somewhere that you were allergic to cats, and I'm kind of a crazy cat lady, so I was just wondering, like, don't look at me like that. I was wondering, how allergic are you to cats, and like, are you something that like you could have a cat, or are you like no?
I grew up with cats. We had when I was a kid, we had a Himalayan cat, which they're so cute. They're like half Persian, half Siamese. And but I think the coolest cat is the what's it called? The Scottish Fold. I mean, those are the cats. Have you seen those? They lie back like you. They just like plop themselves back. It's amazing. But the only problem with cats, I mean, listen, cats are, you know, there's a theory out there that says cats are all psychopaths, right? But yeah, I guess I have to, I don't know, I developed allergies, so I have to, if I were to have a cat, I'd probably have a cat because somebody I was with had a cat.
Yeah.
I'd be more prone to dogs.
Would you ever get like the shots, you know? Like the
would I contribute that much into making it work with a cat? It would have to be a cat that was very interactive, you know. So I mean, if I had a cat, like I would have to be in his or her life, like, you know, because I heard they can be like dogs actually. They can be more friendly if you're involved in their life.
Yeah.
And they also, but the problem is the sandbox. That's the problem. Because unless you have like an entire house for that sandbox, your whole place is going to be taken over. So then the toilet training will have to be. So it's a lot. It's a lot of sacrifice. I haven't even lived with a human yet.